Hello, hello. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have a great webinar planned for you, all about NITRO Studio. We're going to be focusing on forms and workflows for Microsoft 365 and Teams. So we have a lot of interesting things to cover, but before we jump into it, I just wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, we're going to keep this high level today. There's a ton that we can talk about when it comes to NITRO Studio, so many different things you can do when building forms and creating your workflows. So we're going to try to keep it high level, but by all means, if you do have questions or you'd like to see some more one-on-one, feel free to schedule a one-on-one demo with us afterwards. Always happy to dive deeper with you. Also, feel free to ask questions. As we're going through, there is a question box on the right side of your screen there. Go ahead and put your questions in as we're going along, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. And lastly, this will be recorded. So we'll be uploading this recording to our YouTube channel as well as to our website, procanyon.com. So you can see the recording there afterwards. And if you need to take any notes, you can always reference it back there as well. So without any further ado, I'd like to go ahead and hand things off to our CEO, Scott Restivo.
Oh, hello, everyone. Thank you, Krista, for the introduction. Yeah, I'll be presenting this webinar today, and as some of you know us already quite well. We're been in business 25 years, and we're on the GSA, a preferred business partner of Microsoft, certified California small business. So just put that out there. Most of you know what we've been doing. We have business applications, NITRO Studio, NITRO Copilot, apps for Microsoft Teams. So we're really heavily invested in the Microsoft collaboration space to business process automation. And we now call it intelligent business process automation, IBPA, because we're adding a lot of AI elements to it. And people have asked me, it's in this webinar and other times, can you show us those things? They might know some other things about NITRO Studio and business process automation that we do, but they want to see some of the new kind of snazzy, cool stuff we're doing with AI. So we'll show that. If anybody new, I just want to mention that we do our products, NITRO Studio runs inside of Microsoft Office 365 and GCC Hive, and also on premises. That's a point that our NITRO Studio is one of the tools that forms and workflow tool that runs for people still using on-premises SharePoint or who are continually using on-premises SharePoint. So what we've done, we took BPA, AI, now we have IBPA, which we call Intelligent Business Process Automation. And we find many areas where this can be used. So what we want to do here is kind of stimulate some concepts here that if you're doing things in old style email, spreadsheets, and everything else, you can use our NITRO Studio to automate many, many different kinds of processes. And we find there's basically 5 basic areas: the incidents, the quality control, requests that come in, or inquiries, tracking assets, document management. So what we want to say here is this solution is not just a help desk. A help desk is quite often what it's used for, but it can be used for anywhere in your organization to manage requests, incidents, quality control, tracking things like assets, document management, those kind of things. So it's pretty cool, pretty wide use. And we have some people who have created hundreds of forms and different reasons. They've spin them up. They use them for a purpose and don't need to use it beyond that, or they use it. It's very interesting what people are doing. But before I go deeper into it, I did say I would mention about IBPA, and the stuff we're doing with AI going on here. That's why we call it IBPA, Intelligent Business Process Automation. So I'm going to show you a Copilot, NITRO Copilot. This is not a Microsoft Copilot. We're using, underlying technologies like Azure OpenAI services and other things like that, vector databases. But what this is a Copilot, and it's related to NITRO Studio in the sense that with NITRO Studio, there are the capabilities. You do need to get a NITRO Copilot license, but it isn't like Microsoft where you're charged, I think it's $30 per user per month for a NITRO 365 Copilot. It's also different than Microsoft 365 Copilot in the sense that we are using a targeted data set to provide the information that's coming up in this Copilot. That's very important to know, because if you're using Microsoft 365 Copilot, it uses the MS Graph, and it will find stuff in your data repositories throughout your M365, all kinds of things. We used it and we found stuff from like 2017, widely outdated things, people, written by people that left long ago or whatever. It will uncover amazing amounts of stuff, but it's dangerous in a way if you don't have your data governance in place and your data management. So what we did instead with NITRO Copilot, we use a targeted data set. There's a specific document library, in this case, HR documents. It could be multiple document libraries. It could be SharePoint lists, but it's a controlled set of data where you're putting things in, usually with a document management system of what goes in there and what doesn't, what's legitimately can be displayed to people using the Copilot and what shouldn't. So with that in mind, we're able to do a lot of different functions with this Copilot. And it ties into NITRO Studio in the sense that if the person doesn't get their answer here, they can send it off to a Copilot-based request management system for further attendance or further fulfillment or whatever. So let's look at this Copilot, and I'll show you this. I won't go. I did a webinar recently where we went into it in deep detail, and we can, you can find that here on our webinars page, webinars at crowcanyon.com webinars. There is a whole long, the whole webinar was on that one. Automation, there it is, Copilot for HR, AI powered. I'll just skim the surface of it in this webinar because we want to get into the NITRO Studio details in a moment. But this ties right into it because it's a way of doing business process automation that's evolving and new, using AI, using data, like I say, targeted data at your site. So you say something like you want to, what are the paid holidays? These are prompts. This is our NITRO Copilot interface. There's a way to configure what the prompts here are, what they look like, and how all this is configured and what actions are going to be taken. But using what we have right out of the box like this, what are the paid holidays at Crow Canyon? It's going to the HR documents targeted set and telling me what the dates are here, what the holidays coming up are, New Year's, Memorial, all that. And where it got the references, you can copy this if you needed to. You can copy, if you have a long chat, copy the whole chat, email it. Also, you have a disclaimer, and you could set all this up how you want as far as what the disclaimer says and how things are displayed. You also put a rating system in if you want. So a lot of things we're doing with NITRO Copilot, it's quite interesting to see what power there is in AI. But here we got the paid holidays. Well, I want to know when they are. What are the dates of these holidays in 2025, right? Give you a little more information about them if it's working. I mean, here we are. Holidays are likely to fall on the following days, right? There you go. So next one coming up is Monday, May 26th for us here at Memorial Day. Of course, you see how that works. And now but it can go even further with this is say, okay, that's good. Let's start a new chat. And let's go with one that says, I need to update my emergency contact information, and see what this says. And it's where it gets a lot more interesting, because what now you're doing, you're saying, here's how to update it, but here's actual form you can go to do the update right here. So you click here, and now you're going to get the actual form. Now we're going into NITRO Studio Forms, and you see that there's emergency contact information for me. This is all just made up stuff, so I just made up stuff with it. So anyway, so I can come in and change it, save it, and then already update my information. So just by going to that Copilot, I'm able to update my emergency contact info, and there is also leave requests and other things that can be done with that. So like I said, this is not going to be a Copilot demo. I did have people asking me before I started this webinar, can you show some of the AI things right out of the box before we dig in? And I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll show the Copilot things we're doing here just to give you a taste of where this is going. And now we're developing the same kind of thing for R&D documents at some manufacturing companies, specifications for construction. We're doing stuff with healthcare, like healthcare guidelines where the staff needs to know what to do if I don't know, something happens to one of their patients or one of their people, like in an aged care facility. How do you handle that? So they can just type in and get a response there. And you can gear this information to be only to the targeted data set, or whether it goes out to the wider web there. Say it's an HR, where is the local EEOC office, right? Well, that's not in your HR docs probably. So you can gear it in our Copilot where it's going to go out. Oh, wait a minute, I had to start a new chat to do that. Sorry, I kind of jumped the gun a little there. Do a new chat and say, because when it's in the same chat, where is the nearest EEOC office? I don't know why you might want to know that, but just as an example. Oh, nearest EEOC office is here at this here. Well, that's good, but I am in Benicia. It's a town near in the Bay Area, California, right? Nice little town along the water here in the Bay Area. So we go here, and it's going to tell me that the nearest office is over in San Francisco. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of cool stuff. I have fun playing with it to see what you can come up with. So you want to see how this can be helpful to spur intelligent business process automation. Okay, that's one thing, that Copilot, keep in the back of your mind. If you're interested, you got some ideas on how this could be used with targeted data sets at your place, your organization, every industry specific sets of information they might want to use this against. And of course, HR is pretty common, but there could be other things, construction specs, healthcare guidelines, some government websites that list all kinds of, like the Aged Care Commission down in Australia has numerous web pages about how you're supposed to run an aged care operation, those kind of things. Now, one other thing on AI before we jump into NITRO Studio, I want to show you this cool new feature we added to our help desk, coming out with the next version of help desk. This is our help desk, and you open up our one of our tickets. We now have the ability to generate an AI summary at the top, or you can put that anywhere you want. And corresponding with this, it summarized the ticket. This is great if you have a long work log or email history going on, and everything, you want to summarize right at the top what's going on. And what you can also do, we haven't put it right in the help desk right yet. It's coming very soon, ability to generate an email to the user saying, here's how you solve your problem. Based on content of the ticket, you can say, here's how you solve your problem. Here's a possible solution that says, dear, whoever the requester is, dear John in this case, dear John, thank you for your inquiry, whatever nice kind of language you want to put, but here's a possible solution. Please try this out. So that's what I wanted to show you about AI before we get going into NITRO Studio specifically, because I know some of you are familiar with NITRO Studio. Some people I think are already customers of ours, and thank you very much for that. And I just want to show you where we're going with AI and what we're doing here. Now I'm going to jump more into the AI element of things. The NITRO Studio element of things as we go along here, right? But if you want to know more about what we're doing with our NITRO Copilots or our AI capabilities we're building into our ticketing systems, into our NITRO Studio, into our request management, we'll be glad to talk to you about it and follow up. And a lot of it is ping-ponging back and forth with our customers as to what their needs are and what they would find usefulness of AI for, like user self-service, staff augmentation, AI-powered first responders, that kind of stuff. We're building all that in. All right, let's go over to talk about NITRO Studio. I'll go back to the slide deck for a moment. Let's see, where were we in the slide deck? Yeah, right here. So here we go, talking about IBPA, wrong thing, about IBPA, and areas can use it. So when you talk about intelligent business process automation, there's all these different areas that can be used anywhere in your company, really, that where you're getting a request, a inquiry, a problem, something that needs fixing and addressing. Just think about where it can be used. If you're using emails and spreadsheets, or using outdated solutions, you're using InfoPath, you're using Lotus Notes, and it's time to get off all that and move to the IBPA. NITRO Studio is the way to do it, and move ahead with that. You can use it in IT, facilities, administration, human resources, purchasing, so many different places where it can be used. I mean, basically, it's what business processes are all about, is automation of things that are done either with, not so often manually anymore, but even like older forms, older solutions without using the intelligent BPA or even BPA at all to do this. So that's areas of different departments can use it, different industries can use it, education for campus upkeeps, financing, manufacturing, retail, healthcare, on and on. So many, many uses for this. And we here at Crow Canyon, we love to talk to our people, anybody about what they can use business process automation for, how we can incorporate AI into it. It's really interesting. So oh, here we go. This is, I don't know why it's all this automation. Oh, there we go. So I thought about replacing outdated solution, whether it's email and spreadsheets. They have limitations, paper forms. I mean, people still use them, believe it or not. PDF forms, that kind of stuff. Legacy systems, Access, InfoPath, Lotus Notes, Enterprise. It's time to get off all those, move to the solutions that automated. And we are using Microsoft 365 and Teams as the primary way to do it, because there are many ways users can submit tickets. They can send in an email, use our Nitro form, use the Copilot I was just showing you, a Teams app, portal, web form, SMS, and also tickets can be generated automated from automated systems, and they become a request or an inquiry or a problem or an issue, whatever you want to call it, which call it request in general. And then when it comes in, it can be initiate automation happens. All these different things start can happen automatically where somebody's notified or staff is notified, there's an auto reply to the user. And the auto reply to the user is getting closer and closer to being an AI generated email back based on whatever documents set of targeted data you want to, like a knowledge base, and the KB has a knowledge base. So it generates an email back to the user automatically saying, here's a possible solution. Or you can have it pop up for technicians and they can vet it and then decide if they want to send it over to the user. You can do automatic assignment, category, priority, create other tasks. And this sounds simple, and it is, but when you start to get into creating tasks, now you're getting into what they call the agentic framework of AI, and that's where we're going with this, because one thing spurs other actions based on what are the conditions of that request. So here's an example: somebody who needs access to a SQL database. Well, now you've got to generate a task to the SQL DBA or the SQL department or whatever. Or somebody needs access to a facility, and so you got to generate a task for the facility manager to generate a key card or things like that. That's what can generate multiple tasks, and you can automate that. And now when you start to think about it, it gets into like things like onboarding. So HR may say, hey, we just hired this person, and now you're going to automate a generation of a whole set of tasks based on that, based on condition of who was hired, what department, not really who was hired, but more like what title they had, what department they're in, when they're going to start. All these different things can trigger tasks based on that automation of creating the tasks, from the information that came in the ticket. And using AI, you might have HR policies that you want to incorporate into it that decide how that onboarding should take place. Like a manager may need more training or less training, I don't know, than an employee, or a certain employee who may need, especially if you're in manufacturing, they may need to go through a training on how to use the piece of equipment or certain orientation, things like that can be generated from either, put in like as set processes, and when X happens, do this, but also can be generated through AI, where it's going and looking at what is the policy, what are the manuals, what are the procedures, and then generating the task. And that's where you start to get into this agentic framework, where there's an agent that says it works on the ticket when it first comes in, the first responder agent, but then there's a secondary agent that says, okay, because of this situation of this request, go out here and request information either from the procedure documents or from the web, pull it together, and then you create the task like that. So it's all kind of stuff, very interesting things happening as we move forward with this. I mean, we at Crow Canyon are just moving steadily into the AI agentic framework, while also providing solutions for people who are not quite ready, or the IT departments don't want to quite adopt it yet, but we have a path forward for everybody using our solutions in our NITRO Studio. And a lot of very, very interesting and exciting things are happening out there. basically it's a request, needs approval, fulfill, assignment, fulfill, all those kind of things. Now, I think the next thing we're going to do here is jump right into the NITRO Studio. There's a forms designer, as we'll show you that. There's workflows and custom actions in it. We automate any kind of process, approvals, escalations, auto assign. I was just talking about that, and that request comes in. There's all these different things that can happen. Not only when the request comes in, but during the life cycle of the request, you can maybe need to escalate it, or we change the assignment, or if a task is done, a subtask is done, that moves the ticket along to another level. This kind of sequential model of step by step. Notification alerts can go out all the time. You can have reports that are generated as to what tickets are overdue, due date, something coming up, what are we supposed to do next month. You can generate documents like invoices and purchase orders or work orders or tickets and that kind of thing from we use our document generation. And of course, we integrate with many, many external systems so that the NITRO Studio workflow and forms and workflow automation becomes part of them. Integrate with your other line of business databases or solutions like HR or network discovery tools and what else, purchasing departments and things like that. So it's quite interesting. We have a whole workflow designer in it, and there's more. There's portals, reports, AI services, list formatting, email manager, email sync, all these different things here. So rather than go on and on that, I'm going to escape out of this and go over to the program itself and show you some things. Okay, so hold on, I'll get the right screen up here. Oh, where is it? Is this one? Yes, it's this one right here. Okay, so there is a new SharePoint site I created this morning. Okay, so you're in SharePoint, Microsoft 365. And you have create a new site. I activated Nitro in it because, of course, we have a Nitro license for the full tenant. So I just went in and easily activated Nitro. It's simple. Once you have NITRO Studio in place, you activate Nitro. NITRO Studio is now available on this new site I just created. And you can see the Nitro apps are right here. Let's look at the Nitro app for a moment in the new application site. Again, you can see all these different sub components that you can go in and create this site, turn it into an application. And some of you are familiar with it, which is great. And I think people really like it. But what you do here, before you add nitroize it, you're going to get your new item looks something like this, right? It's like, not really doing it for you, really. It's like, So we're going to cancel that. And we're going to go into Nitro Forms right here. It's right there because Nitro was activated in the site. Nitro Forms exists. So just to double, in case I, going over too much here, too quickly, I added this from site contents of this new application. You can go new list and you can choose any number of things when you create a list, but I chose the issue tracker. That's a standard out of the box SharePoint thing. So there it is, but the form is not useful to me. It's really too primitive. So you go to Nitro Forms and say, okay, I really want to dress this up quite a bit and make it really useful and functional. So it opens up our forms designer. Now you've got a form. Of course, nothing's there yet, but being that the list was created, there are a number of fields on it. So what you can do here is go add all the columns to this form. So you're starting to build your Nitro form like this, right? So now the form, if I published it, it looks something like this. I can even preview it and see it in either in a desktop, tablet, or mobile. It looks something like this, looking better, but there's a lot more you can do with this to dress it up, to make it more functional as whatever you want to do, pretty much. One thing that people can do is add another tab. Maybe they want another tab here, and then they can start to put stuff on that tab. Maybe this tab is only available to certain people and only available to the other tabs are available to everybody. You can also design it in whether you want to use the same form for new edit and display or have separate forms for new edit and display. You can do all kinds of interesting things with this. You can create new columns. right here, standard SharePoint columns, but we have a bunch of NITRO columns that are specifically, I mean, we've been doing this application development for 20 odd years or more. So we know from so many tens of thousands of customers we work with, the kind of columns they might need on their forms. And we also have this whole manage column. This is where Krista was talking about, we don't want to go too deep into the details of this because it's not meant to be a NITRO Studio deep dive. Is a little bit higher level, but just to show you that there's amazing capabilities here to build this form how you want it. You can change the theme, you make it different colors, you know, if you want. You can create your own themes up here. If you have a certain branding, you can create your own theme, and then it'll show up in this list, and you're going to end up being able to modify what it looks like. You can show different buttons. You can use sections instead of tabs. You can change what the buttons look. I mean, so much you can do with the design, and it's very, very interesting what you can do with your forms controls. You have ability to add any column you create here in the create columns over here, would show up in this list, and then be able to easily drag and drop it over there into that. You can add sections on a tab. Let me get that out. Use sections on here, add a section, and then you could set that section to have different different ways of displaying. So let's say maybe vertical, and now what you want to do is have this box that says issue description show up a little differently. So you can go over here and say, okay, issue description now looks like this. See how it's like vertical, you know, whereas here it's taken up too much space, so you get rid of that, and now you can move that up there and make that right there, have that issue description like that. I mean, just so much you can do with this, and then publish it. And so I could go into a lot more with colors and how things are arranged, and if you have, you know, how it looked. And I'll show you some things a little bit later on forms that are already created rather than spend the time doing it all now. We also can come in here and do actions. We can add actions, script actions like JavaScript, submit actions, what happens when the ticket's submitted, custom actions, and now this AI actions, which is cool. I've shown you that before. The summarize, you can do summarize a ticket or do assistance, you know, like generate an assistance. Give me a hint on, it's like a hint. You ever play one of those games that say a hint? Here's a hint on how to fix this problem. And then also the generate email is going to come too, where you generate an email back to the user. So you can do that. You can put that somewhere else on the ticket if you want, down the bottom. You can do a custom action. And a custom action, it comes over here to our custom action tool. And the custom action tool now allows you to create actions based on, custom action means someone's going to push that button. You know, they'll push my buttons. No, they're going to push the button on the form, and they're going to create an action. I talked earlier, I showed you that slide that said escalations, self-assignment, or assign to someone else, or close the ticket, or complete the ticket, or create a task. All those are actions that can happen by pushing the button. Now, the same thing, there are also actions that can happen, which we call workflows, based on certain triggers inside the ticket. When it's created, when it's modified, like status changes, when a certain due date is coming up, certain other actions happen that can cause other things to happen, which are called workflows. And custom actions are initiated by the person pushing the button and making a conscious decision to do it. So here we go. Say that if the condition is that the priority is high, you know, then take this action. So you can push the button if the priority is high. What are the kind of actions? Well, any kind of action. There's so many, and these could be cascaded. Some of that visual designer I've shown you with all the different connections there are, let me show you that if I can. Again, you got all these different connections. Well, if you're building in this visual forms designer, but add an item to a list, update an item in a list, delete it, execute a script, send an email out. You can decide what email you're going to send an SMS text out if you want to text somebody, like notify them that a new ticket came in or whatever. You can invoke a web service. This seems small, but there's so many different web services you can invoke. You can upload a document. You can invoke a workflow, one of our workflows, or a SharePoint workflow. You can generate a document, a Word, PDF, Excel. So that's like creating a purchase order, creating an invoice from information on the ticket. You can query a list and get other information that's used to further down the path of the workflow. You can invoke a custom action, send Teams messages, create a channel, post a card in Teams, launch a URL, invoke Azure functions, parse CSVs, query, and you cascade, create a meeting in Teams. So you can cascade these on top of each other and create, one push of a button can do numerous activities that normally would be done manually or however else, maybe in different sequence, that takes different steps to do it, but this can all be done at once. And then, all these can cascade together. And there's also gateways depending on if this, if that, all kinds of interesting things. Like I said, I'm not going to go too into the devil in the details because there is a lot to do there. And if that custom action was done, you give it a name and you put it up here, and then it becomes escalated. So let me show you that right here. And get a little theoretical on the details. Let's see it in reality. Here's an access request system that that we use kind of as a demo. It's got a lot of things you can do on a form on it, just to show all the capabilities, kind of like a model house or something where you have all the different furniture in it or something. So here we are with those buttons I was just talking about. So now we can go, this is a custom action to escalate. This is one to assign to self, and if I looked at the custom actions that are related to this access request system, I went in custom actions, I could see what escalate does. If I'm going to push the escalate button here, list name, it's under the access request, escalate, where is it? Escalate, it's here somewhere. Well, I thought it was. Submit for approval, self-assign, generate quote, all these different, oh, there it is right there, escalate. So escalate, what does escalate do? Escalate does this. It will get the status of a vendor, set priority to high, because you want to, if it's escalating, you want to set the priority to high, send an email to the manager, assign, you have to know who you're going to assign it to if it's SQL. I mean, it's doing all these different actions that are taking place when that button is pushed, because you set it up that way when you did it, or we set it up when what this button does. This says escalate, but all those actions behind the scene are happening. You can assign it to yourself, same idea, submit for approval. And you can have them actions, you have those actions show up as buttons or part of the, what do you call this? The, list view, the item view, or you can have it, if I close this, it can be in what they call the edit control block here, the ECB, and you can see that there's different actions that can take place here, all set up inside of this, where you say where it's going to show up in ECB, an item print manager, and the list view ribbon, and what it's going to have. I mean, so much control you have to make these applications really work for what you need them to do. Very, very powerful tool in many ways. And then if I wanted to go here and print this, I could print it, I could print a list, I could generate reports, all the things you need to do inside of an application here. And this was an invoice, for example, maybe it printed into an invoice format here. This is a very simple one, but I could create different templates here and have it sent out, maybe a work order to somebody, put the header on and all that. You can imagine a purchase order that could do that. It's quite interesting. Many things you can do with this. We can integrate Teams into it. If people want to use Teams, we have a Teams app that we can use here that works with NITRO Studio. It could look like this, or it could look like something like this. So they're inside of Teams, and they're now creating requests and doing functions such as seeing what tickets they're assigned or what tickets they created. They can do the knowledge base copilot inside of Teams. So it has oh, that's not what I want to see. There's all kinds of capabilities with this NITRO Studio to give you what you need to do intelligent business process automation. Now, I could go deeper and deeper into this, because really what we're trying to do is solve problems that you have and create solutions that make automation happen so you can streamline operations, operate more efficiently, and make the users or customers get quicker responses, give them quicker responses and more accurate responses. All these tools in our NITRO Studio add up to do that. You know, you set up your forms. I showed you a little bit about actions, a little bit about workflows. We have reporting capability, so you can look at what worked, what didn't, how many tickets are overdue. You drive that continuous cycle of improvement. There's approval processes. You can brand it, email and text. So people send in an email or they send in a text and it can become a ticket. You can have this conversation back and forth. You can have email manager. You can set up an ID column. You can link items. You can format lists. You can list roll up. All these various tools that give you a lot of power and capability. Now, let me show you a little bit more other things going on here with NITRO Studio that are in a more established than that simple issue tracker. I was starting to work on that forms designer, which in a very short time I could have a more workable solution than what comes up with the add new item. So if I went here to, you know, what I'm doing here in the forms designer with this, I could publish it right here. You know, it's a very simple form that really doesn't, you know, it's just what I could do in a short time in a webinar, but it publishes it here. And then if I go to here and refresh this, it should come up. It should, let's see, with the NITRO form instead of the traditional SharePoint form. So already we're starting to see what was in the form designer showing up now in you know, in your new list here you created here, and then you can just take this and run with it from here, right? And create it and keep adding on more and more by going here to list forms designer and going more and more into it. All right. But things that we already developed, I showed you this access request form. Let me show you some things about that to give you ideas of what you can do with these forms, with these NITRO forms and workflows. So I'll go back to this and go to a new item. In a new item, for example, a new form, we have these tabs at the top. We can do things like here, type of access change, just as an access request as an example here, just to show you what's possible. Well, if we're adding, you know, by clicking a button, a radio button up here, we opened up a new section that says, okay, you're adding access to this. Is it perpetual or is it temporary? And if it's perpetual, when's it start? If it's a modify, you don't need that. If it's a resolve, you don't need that. But if it's add, you need that extra field in there. Another thing that happens here along the same lines, if I choose database in SQL, it's going to show up an SQL tab that was not there previously. So you can fill out this SQL information if you need to, or if it's Oracle, it shows up the Oracle tab instead. So there's ways to really show what the form, to modify the form in real time dynamically. And if it's a contractor, now you're going over to a list over here called contractors and pulling in information about the contractor name. And it's going to bring in the information of who the rep is and if they have any associates and what the name of the company is, phone number, your relationship with them, whatever you want to do. And you might grant them temporary access instead of perpetual. And then you have a list of going back of who got access when, for what, to what database or facility or whatever. It's just to show you that there's a lot of dynamism. Is that a word? Dynamism, dynamic actions going on here that you can design into your form to make it look, function the way you want. For requester, you can have it pull in information from the Active Directory. That's our autofill. Let's see what it says here. If he's got all this information here. That comes from our autofill capability inside of our form designer. You can have subtasks, create new tasks that are associated with this one. That's either automatically or coming in here and create it yourself. Now you have a task that's associated with this access request. Update James's access. Yeah, access, right? And that can be assigned to someone, you know, assign it to myself. And then it becomes a task that I have to fulfill, and it becomes listed here that I can look at and see. You see, you know, I get a notification of it and all that. So you can look at all the different tasks. Here's the Oracle, because I did that. You can have signature tabs where you sign it, and you know, you can have tab this is just an example of how you can lay things out in a little different design with different buttons over here. You can have a table of record, tables in there, design it. Many things you can do with this to make your forms look really good. Yeah, you know, between what we're doing with NITRO Studio, with the AI, with the actions, the workflows, the printing, the Copilot, it's a tool that is very comprehensive for building any kind of solutions. We've had enormous success across really the whole world, you know, people in many different countries, as well as the United States, federal government, military, state government, counties, education, manufacturing, health departments, so much with this building solutions, because people are stuck on some of those old solutions um, they're just using paper, they're using outdated forms. And then they look at like, well, you know, there's Power Automate and Power Platform and Microsoft Copilot, and you look at the cost of those and the complexity of them, and people just flock to what we're doing here because it's so much easier and intuitive, and we have this really excellent support. We have workshops, we have training. Let me show you a little more about our dashboards because I didn't really cover reporting here. So we have this whole way of displaying information in tiles and dials. We have reports coming on. Let me go over here to HR help desk, for example. I'll look at this manager dashboard right here, and you know, different ways of displaying this information. What is different kinds of reports and what, you know, open request. I mean, just different ways you can make it so that it's a very useful, practical tool for people to use in whatever way you think is best. It's very flexible, very, very flexible. I'll go back here and, you know, I could dig into all these different elements about this. It's so interesting and so much stuff we can do with this. So, you know, rather than like belabor, go into all these different things, you know, I just want to point out that in our NITRO Studio, we have the forms, we have the actions, we have the workflows, reporting. All these different things give you the power to really make the application work the way you want. It's not all that difficult to learn this. We have, like I said, a lot of support and training capabilities, and we have the workshops, we have support and training, we have version release notes. We're constantly coming up with new features. We're using the Copilots, AI summarization, generation, bringing agentic frameworks into it, that this studio will be just getting better and better over time to provide these intelligent business process automation solutions. Now, Chris, are there any questions? Because I think I gave a very broad overview of NITRO Studio and hopefully encourage people to take a demo, talk to us about a demo of it and find out more. But were any questions coming in? No, I don't see any right now.
Yeah, actually, I do see one question here. Someone was wondering if you can set a form up so that different elements of the form show for different users.
Yes, absolutely. That's very possible. You just go here and in your example, this one I was doing, you can either set a tab or a particular, you know, field on here to only show up. Let's use that example. Permissions, show or hide, depend on who the user is, or even read only for that matter, depending on certain conditions here, like who it is, so everyone or certain user groups. So for that user, hide it or show it or read only. That's very possible. The other thing, this isn't a question you specifically asked there, but I do want to show in our NITRO workflows. Let me go back there to the access request one and show that I think one point I didn't make, and it's very important to emphasize, is the fact that there are integrations with either external databases or other systems going on here where we're using REST API to either push information out or pull information in on different functionality here, you know. Let me go down here and move it here. So you can invoke a workflow, whatever, like that. So there we go. Invoke a workflow and you can be a SharePoint, Power Automate, and, oh, wait a minute, I'm trying to, sorry. What I meant to do is invoke web service. Well, invoke a workflow is cool too, but invoke a web service, now you're using REST APIs to connect to these different systems out there. We use these all the time to pass information back and forth to outside systems or outside databases. Also in the form itself, we can connect to outside databases here in the form designer. Under our advanced systems, we can have custom JavaScript, custom CSS, form event actions, but also oh, here it is. I meant it under here. External data columns. So you can go out and pull data in from a different SQL database or something. Find the connection string in the query you want to make. Of course, you have to have access to it, but it's you decide how you want to pull that information in. So maybe you have a membership database outside, right? It's not in SharePoint. It's out in memberdata.com or some member data, somewhere in your system on a database somewhere, who knows. So you want to pull in, so you have a number, maybe you ask, or the member or puts in a number like a member number blah blah blah, or a claim number blah blah blah, and then you go out and you can query the database to pull the information in. Or that works a lot with orders too. Order number so and so, what's the status, and it'll go out and pull it into your SharePoint form. So that's one thing about all that external data connections is very interesting. Also, I want to push a little bit more on Teams, how we have the portal interface that can show up in Teams. We also have the Engage bot, where when I entered that request for James needs, what? Got it. James needs read access to DB1. If you remember, that was the ticket that came in here in the access request here. I think it's right here under the access request. It was a ticket that came in. James needs access to DB1. Well, over here in my Engage bot, because I'm the manager of James and I'm the one who needs to be notified and approve it, it showed up in my Teams whether I approve or disapprove this request. And I can always open it up to look at it in the actual browser for more details. And this card is configured in our NITRO workflows to say that when a new request is submitted, then send a card using this kind of construction of the information to this kind of icon and title and all this information with these actions to the manager through the Engage bot, NITRO Engage. So the bot becomes like a really good notification bot. This can happen for purchases, access requests, and other decisions where you can either approve or disapprove. Well, of course, other actions could be put there in the NITRO workflows. It's in our NITRO workflows here under access request is setting up this bot card to go out to the Engage bot. That's all part of NITRO Studio, the Engage bot and Teams, portals, and that kind of stuff. So we are looking at post access request card. I think this is it, when an item is added, if I remember that's right. So post access request card. So somebody created this ability that when a new card, post a card with actions, it's one of the right here, it's one of these post an adaptive card action. And it came in and it's configured it to post this card that you see in my NITRO Engage bot right there. And you can design this whole thing of what you want, the title, the heading, the subheading, and what the actions are. The actions are defined in the workflow as approve and deny. When approve happens, it updates a list item to say approve. When it deny, it also updates it to say deny. So by having all this stuff happening behind the scenes, then the person gets the notice here in the Teams, approves it, and then it becomes an approved. It might put the details, fine with me, or okay, or limit the access to such and such, and then they can answer. And you got to remember, this shows up in the access request approved. It can show up on Teams anywhere you are. I mean, I have my mobile phone. I think I have too much Teams on it, because even when I'm out for a walk, sometimes I get dinged, for things that I need to attend to. That's part of being CEO, I guess, but it's okay. And so if we go to the access request program here, we can see that this should now be updated as approved. See, it says approved now. And you can see that it was approved by me just now. You saw it, right? So if we look at it, it would say approved. Well, this access request, we did a lot of monkeying around with it, but basically see I'm the manager and it's access to database. And of course, when it's approved, it can launch all these other capabilities too, such as now that it's been approved, send a task, create a task for the SQL administrator to go do it. Again, so all kinds of interesting possibilities, right? With this system, it's really, really useful. People found it useful. We call them nitronauts, like astronauts, nitronauts. People use in NITRO Studio. And I'm going to go into one other thing with the PowerPoint before we end this call. And I just want to encourage everybody to, talk to us, find out. We're here. We're in the mix with you guys, trying to help our businesses be more efficient and successful. And we enjoy it. It's what we do. We have a whole bunch of support and training between chat, tickets, email. We have a forum, tutorials, documentation. It's all over the place. We got a lot going on. We have this a site called, where is it? crowcanyon.help. Where are you? crowcanyon.help. So here's our support center. I can show you the slide. I can show you the real thing, right? Here's the support center with our, workshops and all this. We have the community forum, user manuals, version logs. We have, knowledge base, live chat, support ticket, professional services. And we do a lot, actually we do a lot of professional services, because if we can help you build this applications in your NITRO Studio. What was the other thing? Let's see. So there's, okay, here we go. I showed you that. We have the training programs. We have crowcanyon.help. And one thing I just want to point out here also for people who may be in healthcare, to show you the broad breadth of Crow Canyon. Crow Canyon is really interesting company. I've been running it for 25 years now, and everything keeps evolving over time. It's crazy with this AI stuff now. I was even before the days of the cloud when everything was on premises. So it's just rapidly changing all the time. And that's our mantra here, is to keep changing and keeping you guys, our customers, up to date on the leading edge of the technology. It's what we do all day. So you can rely on us to find out how we can implement intelligent business process automation at your organization. And we have a lot. If anybody is interested in a beta project for the Copilot, let me know. We have an HR with a large city in the United States going. We have R&D going for a manufacturing company. We have stuff going on with aged care. One thing you might not know about us is this is one of our properties here is assetjourney.com in Australia. We have the Asset Journey program, which is asset management plans for retirement villages, aged care facilities down in Australia. We also have the ESIP, which is continuous improvement plans for aged care operators. And this continuous improvement plan has to do with all the standards, create plans, respond to feedback from the things that need improvement. You can generalize this to any kind of quality control where, the aged care people need to prevent falls or to make sure facilities are adequate for their residents and all things like this according to government standards. But the same idea could apply to anything. You have plans with feedback and you track your improvements and you assess your outcomes with this plan, do, check, act cycle that we have going on here. So, these are things that we're doing. And what we're doing with this is quite interesting, is we're going here and say, we have too many falls out at this facility. How do we relate this to the aged care quality standards? And it comes back with suggestions of how you relate it to the standards and incorporate it into our plan. So we're doing a lot with AI with this, with Asset Journey. We're very, in the other things, I get to go to Australia every once in a while. I was there November. I'm going to go again in the fall. It's very interesting. Excuse to go down to Australia. So a little personal stuff there, but I like going there and really enjoy meeting the people and seeing the sights and saying hello to all the kangaroos and koalas. It's quite an interesting country. I love it down there. But anyway, so we're doing a lot of, I'm going to Europe in a couple of weeks for some conferences in Europe. So, we're very broad-based. We have a lot going on. We're helping organizations around the world to incorporate Microsoft 365, Teams, even SharePoint technologies, co-pilots into their operations in order to help them be more successful. Your success is our success. So you know, it's all about having this conversation saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Some of it's possible, some of it isn't. Some of it may cost too much or not be sensible, but we're going to give you the right information and the right guidance as we know it to help, because we understand, and we're the ones who are deep into this, neck deep in it or more, with, you know, like I said, thousands and thousands of conversations over the years, probably tens of thousands, and work with many, many customers. So, you know, we don't know everything. We don't know. There's always new stuff coming out, but we certainly have some experience that we can help you bring a solution to your company that, you know, make you look like a hero, or just help your company be more successful and more profitable, or provide better services to your constituents or your members, or whatever you need to be done. And also make your life easier, because automation does have that advantage. I mean, if it didn't, people wouldn't be buying it. It really helps. So anyway, I think we're at the top of the hour, and I'll let go on that. Any other questions, Krista?
One last question. Can you build a workflow to require multiple approvers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That is so, let me get that out of the way. So much part of it is approvals. Approvals are so much part of what we're doing here, that we actually have this whole advanced approval form thing right here. If I go to our purchasing program, it's really expressed quite well in there that there could be serial approvers, which means one after another. There could be parallel approvers, and you can either decide one person approves it, that's okay, or all people in the parallel have to approve it. It can be also based on, well, we've done purchasing programs that are just based on the amount of money and the location and the type of thing they're buying and what department it is. So you can get very granular, and you can do something like, if it's below $10,000, it requires manager approval. It's above whatever number. It could be 1,000, it could be $5, but it's just say 5,000, 10,000, whatever the level is. If it's above like 20,000, it has to be approved by two people. If it's you know, or it could be above 20,000, has to be to the senior vice president or something, or the CEO, whatever. So, and we've done so many different ways of working out the approvals processes for people. And they get notified, like I said, they get the notification through email, through Teams. They get reminders if they haven't got the approval. You can do things like vacations, where if someone, you know, how do you override an approval, right? If there is an approval if somebody who needs to approve it is on vacation or something, or away, you can do things like that. So and it's a very, very much part of our program is the approvals. I don't think I did that in access request per se, made multiple levels of approvals, but I certainly could have it be, you know, different tiers and different styles of approvals. And, yeah, quite cool. Quite an important part of it. That's a good question. Anything else, Krista?
Very cool. Yeah, I think that's everything for now. So if anyone has any other questions, if they come to you after the webinar, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to us, and we can address those one-on-one with you.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you're working on, what you need help with, and you know, and the purchasing. Just to give quickly before we end, NITRO Studio can either be bought for the whole tenant. We price it on the size of your tenant, so you can create as many sites with as much NITRO Studio as you want. So some people do that and create like 20, 30, dozen, sometimes 100 different sites using NITRO Studio, because it becomes a very, very useful and functional tool for them. Other people buy it for one site, and then they create an application, and that's fine. You know, one or two sites, maybe a test site and a production site, and that's fine. They build an application, and that's good. And by the way, we also have all pre-built applications like our help desk, purchasing, asset management, and others like that Asset Journey one and the ESIP programs that are built on top of NITRO Studio already. And sometimes people take those and modify them. We have a kind of a basic request manager that people purchase that, which includes NITRO Studio under it, and then they take, you know, they go sort of like under the hood of the car and start tweaking the engine, you might say, right? One way of looking at it. And so they are able to take Request Manager and adapt it for their particular purposes. And a lot of times it's a a cooperation between us and the customer to work it out together, you know, that we might do some of it, they do some of it, or there could be mentorship along the lines and then they take and run with it. The good thing is that you can always tweak and modify it as needed down the road. You can change the UI, you can change the form, the workflow, the action. And so you're not locked in to what you did at first. You can, it's very adaptable to the change in circumstances. And you could add features like the Copilot on later. You could add Teams app on later. You could add EngageBot later. You can do things like that. And then maybe you need to print something out. So you can add a print capability, or maybe you need to notify different people, or the message has to change. So you can do that. All kinds of capabilities. Anyway, so I encourage people to take a closer look, talk to us, find out what NITRO Studio could fit into your organization. The cost is it's nowhere near any of these larger, you know, if a Nintex or something like that, where you're getting, you know, millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars or something. It's a very affordable tool, very affordable and very, very functional. So be glad to talk to anybody about that. So Chris, do you think we can wrap it up? We're good right at the top of the hour, right?
I think so. Yeah, I appreciate you walking us through all this, Scott.
Okay. Thank you for your help. And thank you everyone for attending, and hope you have a good day in nice springtime weather your way. Okay. Sorry. Enjoy the day. All right. Thank you very much for attending. We will
Thanks,
take any
everyone.
questions or emails. Email us or call us anytime. sales@crowkinda.com or whatever. All right. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.